and welcome back everyone. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create this classic French dessert, an entremet with tropical flavors. Also, I'll show you how to get this nice velvety finish onto the entremet. Sounds interesting? Let's get on with the video. Alright you guys, so the first layer to make is the coconut Namelaka cream. Namelaka is a Japanese word for extremely rich and creamy. It tastes so heavenly and it takes literally 5 to 6 minutes to whip up if all your ingredients are ready. But it needs chilling time in the fridge 6 to 8 hours or ideally overnight before you use it. So all the ingredients, quantities and all of the recipes that you need to make this entremet, I have clearly mentioned everything in the description box below. You can check that out as well. Now to start off with Namelaka cream, I'm blooming my gelatin. I'm using gelatin powder. Now when you're blooming gelatin powder, the rule of thumb is you use water 6 times the amount of your gelatin powder. Once that is done, I'm gonna heat up my coconut cream and my corn syrup together and bring it to a light boil. While I do that, I'm also gonna melt my white chocolate, and once the coconut cream comes to a light boil, turn off the stove and add your bloomed gelatin and give it a good mix. Once that is well combined, I'm gonna add my melted chocolate to the cream in batches. Don't dump everything in one go. Make sure you add that in batches and everything is well combined. You can also add your flavorings here. I'm adding vanilla. You could also use coconut flavor, any kind of liqueur as well. Now here you need to make sure temperature of your liquid stays above 35 Celsius. Now if it's not above 35 Celsius, you can heat it up a bit before you add your chilled heavy cream. I'm gonna transfer my liquid to a taller pitcher to emulsify, and I'm gonna add my heavy cream, chilled heavy cream, while I'm emulsifying it. Once that is well combined, I'm gonna transfer that to a container, cover it with a cling wrap and put it in the fridge to chill overnight. A useful tip for you guys: if you want to make vanilla Namelaka instead of coconut, all you have to do is replace coconut cream with heavy cream to make it vanilla Namelaka cream. Next up is the coconut sponge layer. Now this is the bottom layer of the entremet. The ingredients and the quantities I've given you can make 3 6-inch cake layers. If you want, you can take half of it or quarter of it, depending on the size of your mold. For your reference, I'll give you the measurements of the silicone mold that I'm using to make this entremet so that you can adjust your ingredients accordingly. I'm starting off creaming my butter and then gradually adding the sugar. After that, I'm gonna add my egg yolks one at a time, making sure I'm beating it well. Now once that is done, I'm gonna add bicarb of soda and baking powder to the flour and give it a good mix, and then I'm gonna alternate between flour and the buttermilk. Once that is mixed well, I'm gonna beat my egg whites to a soft peak, and then I'm gonna fold that into the batter gently, followed by the toasted coconut flakes. I'm using freshly grated coconut flakes. If you can't find that, you can use desiccated coconut instead of that. Once that is done, I'm gonna bake the sponge layers in 180 for about 10 to 15 minutes. Next up is the cashew praline layer. For this, I'm gonna caramelize some sugar with little bit of water. I stirred the mixture at the beginning. After that, I'm not gonna stir it because the more you stir it, the sugar will crystallize. I'm gonna cover it up with a lid and let the mixture come to a boil. Once it reaches 115 Celsius, turn off the heat and then I'm gonna add my toasted cashew nuts. Make sure everything is well coated with the crystallized sugar. Again, turn the heat back on. On low heat, I'll keep stirring the mixture till it starts to caramelize. Once I see light amber color and all the sugars caramelize, turn off the heat, transfer it to a pan, let the nuts cool down. Then I'm gonna break it into pieces and put it into a food processor, add a couple of tablespoons of oil and a pinch of salt. Then I'm gonna grind it into a paste. So far 3 layers are done. I'm gonna assemble the layers. The bottom layer is the coconut sponge. I brushed it with a mixture of milk and coconut liqueur. Once that is done, next layer is the Namelaka cream. Now this is the Namelaka I made the day before. So I just whipped it up until it's fluffy and smooth and transferred that into a piping bag so I have control over the thickness of the layer. Once I piped a layer of that back in the freezer for 10-15 minutes, take it out. Then next is the cashew praline layer. I piped a thin layer of that and also sprinkled some chopped nuts over it, followed by another thin layer of Namelaka cream. And that goes in the freezer until I'm ready with my next layers. Alright, up next is the mango compote. So I'm going to heat up some mango puree. Now I didn't add any sugar while pureeing the mango, so I'm going to add some sugar in here. While that heats up, I'm going to bloom my gelatin. Also, keep stirring your puree, don't let it burn. I'm squeezing a little bit of lime juice here as well. When all the sugar dissolves and it is thickened, turn off the heat and add your bloom gelatin. Give it a good mix. Lastly, I'm going to add some mango pieces that I've cut into small cubes and give it a mix and let the mango compote cool down. Once it's cooled down, take out the cream layer and add the mango compote layer on top of the cream layer. Put it back in the freezer. So the final layer is the lychee mousse. Now this is the layer that sort of wraps everything together. I'm using a canned lychee here. You could use fresh ones as well. First step, I blended the fruit to a puree, and to bloom the gelatin, I'm using the juice from the can instead of water. Then I'm gonna lightly heat up the puree along with sugar. Once the sugar melted, take it off the heat and add the bloom gelatin and give it a good mix. Next step, whip up the heavy cream to a light, soft stage. Now, this is the consistency you should look for. Once the puree cooled down, then I'm gonna fold in the heavy cream in batches and we are done with the mousse. A useful information for those who can't find lychee. Now, there's another fruit you can use instead of lychee that is called rambutan. It is a fruit native to tropical countries like Sri Lanka, where I come from, countries like Malaysia, Thailand. It is a very colorful fruit with a hairy skin, but it tastes just like lychee. Final step, I'm adding a layer of mousse to the bottom of my mold and let it freeze for 10 to 15 minutes. The reason I freeze the mousse before adding the frozen layers, because if the mousse is not frozen, with the weight of the frozen layers, it's gonna sink down to the mousse. So it's better to freeze the first layer of the mousse and then place the frozen layers on top of it. Once that is done, I'm gonna fill up the gaps with the rest of the mousse and make sure that the mousse is equally distributed inside the mold. Tap down the tray to get rid of any trapped air bubbles, and once that is done, let it freeze. The entremet needs to be freezed at least 6 to 8 hours or ideally overnight. For the velvet spray, I've got some chopped white chocolate and some cocoa butter, and I'm using 60% of white chocolate to 40% cocoa butter. Now I'm gonna melt these two separately. Don't melt them together because white chocolate melts faster than cocoa butter. Cocoa butter takes time to melt. By the time it finishes melting, your white chocolate might burn. So make sure you melt them separately. Once it completely melted, I'm gonna mix them together and give it a good mix. I'm adding my color here as well. Now I'm checking for the temperature of the mixture here. The temperature needs to be between 35 Celsius to 30 Celsius. If it's above that, you need to cool it down. If you go to spray when the temperature is above 30 Celsius, because it's warm, it won't give that nice bubbly smooth velvety texture. It will run down the entremet. Now this is the setup I have. I covered my countertop because it can get really messy and a lot of cleaning to do afterwards. When you're spraying onto your entremet, keep a considerable distance so that it'll give you a smooth velvety texture. The more you bring your spray gun close to the entremet, it will give you a very runny, drippy look rather than those smooth, tiny bubble velvety texture. And don't go to apply a thick layer. Start off with a thin layer, and if you think that layer is not enough or the color is not prominent, finish the first layer, put it back in the fridge, wait for some time. Don't put it in the freezer, put it in the fridge, wait for some time, and then take it out and spray the second layer. Now, entremet's got variety of layers, different kinds of textures. It consists of cake or sponge layer, jelly or fruit compote, different kinds of creams, mousses and ganaches. It can be a complicated design, it can be a delicate one, or you can keep it plain and simple. It's all up to your creativity, how much time you're willing to spend on it, and up to your imagination. So always remember, it's not just a piece of cake, it's a work of art. With that note, we have come to the end of our video. I hope you learn a few things along the way and got inspirations. I'll catch you guys soon with another video. Until then, take care you guys.